So today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious cup of tea. I think it's good to use the loose leaf tea like this. It just tastes a bit better than the tea that comes in the bags. And it's actually not that expensive. I got this 3-ounce bag of tea for, it was $5. Compared to the loose tea, or compared to the tea bags, see, a box of tea bags like this costs about $5, and this was only 1.41 ounces of tea, so I think it's actually cheaper per ounce to get the loose tea, and it's much higher quality tea. It has a better flavor. The only downside is you have to, it takes a little bit more work to make the tea, but not much more work. Okay, so what you need to do now is you need to boil some water. And so you take a pot, make sure it's very clean. If there's even just a little bit of oil or residue of anything, then that flavor will show up in the tea. So make sure you have a very clean pot. It's best to have a pot that you use only for boiling water, but I use this pot for other things. Oop. So what I like to do is take your cup that you're going to drink the tea out of and use it as a measuring cup. And so fill it up however much tea you want, and then pour it in. And it helps if your teacup has a nice lip like this, so that so that the water easily pours. Some cups don't pour very well. And then yeah, turn it on high and wait for it to boil. Alright, so it's only been about a minute, but the water should be boiling pretty soon here, since it's only a little bit of water, and I put it on very high, or I put it on medium high, so it should boil pretty shortly here. What you do is you take a tablespoon, I think this is a tablespoon, and then wow, you can hear it. It's so hot. We're actually gonna turn the stove off because even after you turn it off, it stays hot for a long time. So we got our tea ready, and then once it's to a full boil, we'll take it off and we'll wait for the full boil to die down for a second, and then we'll put our tablespoon of tea in. I don't know if it's bad to put the tea leaves into a fully boiling water, but I heard it can make the tea not taste very good. So I like to put the tea into water that is just below boiling. So I think our tea is hot enough, so I have to put it down here. Alright, so we have our tea leaves. This is what they look like. Focus. And we're going to put them into the water. And stir it around. And then you want to let it steep for about 2 minutes. And you can let it steep longer than that if you want. I like to let it steep at least 2 minutes. And obviously the longer it steeps, the stronger flavor it will have. But you don't really want to let it steep too long, or it can actually become too strong and it'll become kind of bitter. But if you steep it the right amount of time, it will have a strong tea flavor without being too bitter. So I think 2 to 4 minutes is a good amount of time. Okay, so the tea has steeped for about 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes now, and so that takes us to the last step. And the last step is you take a strainer, take your cup you're gonna drink out of, put your sieve there, and then, and then you take your tea and pour it in. And you can just discard the rest of it. You could probably reuse this tea for a second cup if you want, but because it probably does still have enough tea flavor in it to make a second cup, but I always just discard it. And as you can see, there's actually a little less tea than there was water when I measured it out, and that's because a lot of the water got absorbed by the tea, which was discarded. So when you measure your water out, you actually want to measure a little bit more water than tea, or you want to measure a little bit more water than you need to end up with for the tea. And put that in the sink. And then, yeah, a delicious cup of tea. Shall we try it? Delicious. So, there's a few things I do like to add to my tea sometimes. Sometimes I like to add honey. Honey's pretty good. And then I also like to add heavy whipping cream. I really like heavy whipping cream in tea. It tastes a lot better than just regular milk, and I think it tastes a lot better than half and half. And you don't need very much, only maybe between a teaspoon and a tablespoon is enough for a cup of tea, and it adds a nice creamy flavor to it. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. One thing though is I think it is good to add the honey first. That way the honey melts in the tea and the heavy cream cools the tea off. And yeah, that was it. That's how to make a delicious cup of tea.